There we go. All right. How you guys doing? This is Tristan Berg, sir. That is your storyteller, and I'm super excited to be with you once again on Instagram Live as well as YouTube. And we are going to have an amazing conversation with my boy Joshua Martin from Joshua Martin Studios. We're going to bring him in right now. Actually, I see him wanting to jump in on Instagram Live, so we're going to add you in here. Joshua, see if you can come in here. There we go. I'm just adding him. For those of you that are on YouTube, I'm adding him to Instagram right now. There we go. How we doing? Good. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just going to turn that down a bit. Perfect. Okay. No static in the background. All right, we're going to jump right in. I'm going to bring you right in here. How you doing, my friend?
Bam. I'm good, fam. Today's been Mondays are the longest days for me because I'm in meetings from 8:30 to noon, and then after that just editing most of the time from home.
Yeah, I had a day today. It was supposed to be a day where it was just supposed to be like focused on work, and then I ended up just jumping all over the place and doing a whole bunch of other errands for family and friends and things of that nature. But I first and foremost want to welcome everybody on YouTube and on Instagram to this live. We are going to be talking about how to be a visual storyteller and talking with Mr. Martin all about his visual storytelling journey. Yes, we are going to talk about, I see your comment already, we are going to be talking about Zcam. We're going to be talking about B-Raw. We're going to be talking about all the gear stuff.
That good stuff, yeah.
But I think what's more important is the fact that, Joshua, you are such a, in my opinion, a light in terms of YouTubing, in terms of content creating, and all of the types of films and art and pieces that you create. Not only just you, but you and your wife. You guys are creatives together, which is really, really dope. So I guess I want to start out first and foremost with, let the people know who you are. Hold on. I didn't even introduce you properly. Hold on. There we go. Let the man, come on, talk your talk, man. Sell yourself a bit. Go ahead.
What's up, y'all? My name is Joshua Martin. I am a filmmaker based in South Bend, Indiana, and so I've been doing this for about, oh my gosh, close to 10 years now. Visual storytelling, that is. I got into photography early on and went for that for college. I did my BFA, and then it transitioned to telling stories through film. I started doing documentaries, and I still love documentaries. But I'm on the YouTube scene too. But my goal in life is to tell the human condition, and that's a very vast pool of content to talk about because we all have different stories to tell, different victories, different flaws, different everything, right? So my goal in life is to share that, to make an impact on someone mentally and spiritually. So that's what I'm here for.
Here's the thing. Like, your work says it all. For those of you that don't know, have never seen Joshua's work, just go to Joshua Martin. Is it youtube.com/Joshua Martin Studios? That's what it is? Okay, perfect. Go right there. youtube.com/Joshua Martin Studios. You are from where? The Midwest, right? Or Midwest?
So I live in the Midwest, but I'm originally from Pine Forge, Pennsylvania. It's
Pine
on.
Forest. Don't know where that is. Never been there before, but gotta shout it out like I know.
I know, right? No, it's Pine Forge,
Oh,
like
oh,
forging.
forge.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
like you're
yeah,
forge,
yeah,
like Lord
yeah,
of the
yeah,
Rings forging a
yeah, yeah,
sword.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
It's actually a historical piece of land because it was part of the Underground Railroad.
oh,
So we have a
dope,
manor house here where they hid slaves underneath and everything. So it's a rich
dope,
history back there. Yeah,
dope. That's
yeah,
what's
man.
up. Well, listen, tell us a little bit about, first and foremost, how you got to the place where you even were interested in film, interested in, like, did you start in photography? What was it like
Yeah.
being a creative? Were you a creative young person, like child,
hmm
or were you more like introverted and very like meticulous, and then you kind of fell into this sort of creative side of yourself?
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. I always feel like just about like 80% of all photographers have this story. Well, my dad had a camera and I picked it up. That was kind of like my story. I was like, what, in middle school, my dad did have a digital camera. He had like, no, the first camera I ever had was like a Sony. It was a fat camera that had floppy disk. Remember floppy disk? Yeah, 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 yeah. So it had a floppy disk in it and whatnot. But I started taking videos, and my sister and I started making home videos together and whatnot. And so it was just a combination of those two assets, taking photos of nature and then taking little videos with my sister and just having fun. And then my parents were really just like encouraging. It's like, hey, look, you are pretty good at this when I got to high school and stuff. Just kind of see what happens. Make some money on the side, do some portraiture, do some stuff for the school. And they're really encouraging. So I had that combination of like that business mind of like, how can I turn my talent into profit? So I was kind of doing both of those things at the same time. And I was really just a self-taught photographer all the way through up until college. I never had any formal training. And so when
Oh,
I got
wow.
there, I did my BFA. Yeah, I didn't have formal training up to that point. Because I mean, I was a high schooler. They didn't even have any creative outlets. They
Hmm.
had singing and acting. I did acting.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah.
Somewhere
So
there's music.
it seems like you're on another level than me, man. I'm just saying. Um, but then just condense the story even more. Like I
Yeah.
went to Andrews University, which is here in the Midwest. It's
Hmm.
in Michigan, and
Go Big
did
Blue.
BF.
Sorry, just have to say.
And I did I was really into portraiture. Like that was my bread and butter. Like I
Hmm.
love studio portraiture. I need to bring back because I had some great images. I have to say,
Hmm.
not to like but I mean you boast yourself up in the sense of you have that on cue. That's crazy, bro.
Dope.
I need to have one of those. um, but then like my junior year, because honestly I got kind of bored because a lot of my classes were still beginning classes, and being
Hmm.
self-taught I kind of jumped ahead on a lot of stuff until I got studio work. But I
Hmm.
added on documentary of film as one of
Mm.
my classes, and bro, that like expanded my mind because I always enjoyed, you always enjoyed movies and stuff and
Hmm.
things that move you. Always remember that impact. But like once I understood like the behind the scenes and the grittiness and all the different types of job positions that are in making a film, like that just expanded my horizon. So I took every single documentary class, every single directing class, cinematography class that I could, and I just kind of went from there. One of my first jobs coming out of college was working for my church, my world church, and so we did this big old documentary. We traveled all over the West Coast. I filmed out of a helicopter. I did all sorts of stuff, man. It
Dope.
was crazy. So then
Church
I
is,
haven't looked
by the
back
way, just
since.
just just right in there. I just want to say, church is a great place to just like refine your skills as a
Yeah,
filmmaker. It's
yeah, yeah,
such a
yeah.
great place because there's so many needs. There's such a giant need to tell stories. So I
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that you're sharing that.
And creativity is actually welcome too. You do have to fight a little bit with it depending
Hmm.
on your church dynamic, but like
Hmm.
people are ones who like if this is going to make an impact, let's make it happen. So I was blessed to have that opportunity. And then now, man, I got into the business of being part of marketing teams of universities. So I went to the University of Miami. I lived there for 3 years, and I
The
did
you?
the U.
Oh shoot! Okay, the you. Sorry,
That was one of my
I'm a
first
college
big
football.
jobs.
I'm a college
I can
football
tell
fan.
you're a junkie, man. Oh man, but Penn State all the way. That's what I just said.
Penn
I mean
State,
PK. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Nittany Lions, right?
Nifty Lions, Ryan, Nifty Lions. And so I got into my boy Omar.
Hmm.
He hired me to work at UM, and we both did the production management for marketing there. and we started telling all types of student stories. And so that kind of gave me that background, and that was which led me to this job. Now I work for the University of Notre Dame, and I work in communications. And so we tell the overall story of uh, Notre Dame, not just like individual departments
When
of the school.
when were you in Miami, like working for the University of Miami?
I was there from 2016 to early 16 to the end of 2018.
Okay, because I remember, I specifically remember sort of the transition from like old broadcasty videos that every college had to like this
Yeah,
cinematic sort of spin, and
yeah,
everything was DSLR, everything was like student or like professional artist led, and I was like, okay, okay, I remember that, I remember that. So you're
yeah.
saying you were a part of that, then you were part of
I
that
think
movement.
it was early 2016, like
Yeah.
end of 15 to 2016. That's when that whole wave of cinematic storytelling came
Yep.
to universities, and a lot of big universities were doing it. They put big money into their marketing teams and like, hey, look, or they hired
Yeah.
studios, production studios. So yes, I
That's
guess
dope.
I was part of that wave.
That's really really dope. Well,
I never
listen.
thought about that.
Sorry, say it again.
I never thought about that. It's like, yeah, that did
Yeah.
happen at that
No,
time.
I'm because I remember like I'm very much like a student of like things that happen in the industry, and I just remember watching like college football Saturdays and being like, when did college football videos look like this? Like this looks like proper storytelling. I was blown away. But that being said, so you get to this place now where you, first of all, I have to say this, for those of you that have not seen Joshua's work, one of the things that stands out is his framing and the composition. That's one thing that for me that stood out to me very quickly when I started to see your work. I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to tell a story within a no, because I mean, a lot of people are like, I'm a storyteller. I can do everything. I can do this. Look at my bazooka
Yeah,
camera that is eighteen
yeah, yeah,
thousand dollars, right? But like
yeah, yeah.
there was a level of refinement, and there was a level of mastership in terms of allowing the frame to kind of capture the movement and capture the story that was happening in there,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's sometimes a missing art in terms of
Mm,
storytelling, like specifically being a, if you're a DP or a cinematographer, the art of just a really well composed frame and allowing
yeah,
the movement and the story to tell itself. Not,
yeah.
I'm not against gimbals. I'm not against sliders and all this other stuff and drone shots. But I think there's something to be said where you just, you plot the camera on a stable tripod or something like that, or on the ground, and then you allow the story to unfold in front of the lens, and you do that really really well. Even with your last piece, where you there's
Mm-hmm.
frames where like you're shooting upwards and like and you were kind of convulsing with your body, right, doing all this sort of stuff. It's like really interesting because you're using contrast, you're using
Mm-hmm.
the lack of color, you're using
Mm-hmm.
your body, you're using
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different things, right? Even the way you crop the frame to be able to tell a specific type of story. So yeah, I see the sort of the fine artistry mind in everything you do. It's kind of like woven into each project. How do you choose or pick your projects?
Oh, great question. Um, so at the heart of everything, I think about two things. I think about really two things. One, what is my story that I'm trying to tell? Because whatever project I try to pick, I want some piece of it, either some piece of me in it, or something that I can relate to, because I can be able to kind of put my stamp on, you know. And two, I think about some of the greater issues, really actually some of the greater issues that I struggled with, because then a lot of people can kind of relate to that. So even though that sounds like it is all about, in a sense, all about me and what I'm trying to say, starting with those two things in mind, um, allows me to have direction. And so I guess to relate, so actually one of my first experimental films about myself was in college, and was called 125 pounds. So one of
Mm.
the things I experienced, you remember when you met me, right? Did you think I was going to be a tall, skinny dude?
No.
Even though I look like it on camera.
No, no, not at all. I was just intrigued. I remember I didn't even see what you looked like before. The first video I saw was like a camera, or not a camera review. It was like a lens reviewer, adapter, because you did a lot of like anamorphic adapter reviews and all this other
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I just remember hearing your voice and being like, "Yo, this dude knows what he's talking about. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. Very arty, like artistic." And I was like, "Okay, it's well composed. It's on YouTube. How come he doesn't have more than 5,000 subscribers?" But yeah, no, I didn't. I had no idea. And then when I saw you, I was like, "All right, homie's doing his thing. You
Yeah.
know, he's a brother." I'm like, "Okay, do your thing, right?"
So growing up all through like my whole childhood, really up until now, still, the first thing most people notice is my weight, how thin I am.
Mhm.
I'm still 125 pounds, right? And so,
I hate you. I just want to say that. I'm
but that being
125
said,
pounds in
right?
my one thigh. In one thigh. The other thigh is the other 125 pounds. Then the rest of my body just kind of goes around. That's what it is. Thanks. Anyways, continue on.
Bro. But I struggle with that because I started becoming self confident about myself
Mhm.
and question my masculinity because being a man you need to be buff, you need to be strong, you need to be all these little things, charming, good looking, all this stuff, especially being a black male, right?
Mhm.
And so all throughout high school and whatnot, everybody just talked about my weight being so skinny. I don't eat, yada yada yada. So one of my projects I talked about, one of the things I was able to be once I became comfortable with myself to share this part of me, this vulnerability of me, I talked about it. I made a film, a short film that talked about all the things that I hear that was weighing me, that felt like more weight than what I actually physically am, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that was one of the first breakout stories that allowed me to talk about a human condition, which is
Mhm.
body appearance, identity,
Mhm.
those themes that are in there, right? And I always tell myself before I start telling somebody else's story, I need to look inward. What are some of the things that I work through when I'm struggling with? What can I say? What are my experiences with? So that's what I try to do now. Like, of course, I make content about gear. I do wedding films, all that stuff, just to pay bills still.
Yeah,
But like,
the pay the bills stuff.
they pay the
I'm
bill stuff, right? Eat
Sally.
your bread, eat your
I'm
vegetables stuff,
exactly.
right?
I'm gonna film your wedding, Sally. Okay, I'm not gonna enjoy it, but I'm gonna film it. All right.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, so but like when it comes to the heart of this stuff, the stuff that really matters, that affects me and that hopefully affects others, is those type of stories, like the what we deal with as human beings, right? And
Hmm.
we all struggle with identity, we all struggle with purpose, we all struggle with um, um, so many other things,
Common
addictions, right?
themes.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I look for when it comes to like projects like this.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad that you said that because I relate on so many different levels because even when I talk about being a digital storyteller, I say I use new media like photography and cinematography and graphic design to communicate human-centered messages. That's what I do. You know what I mean? That depicts and shares the human condition. I use almost the same words as you, and I
Hmm.
find that many people, number one, connect to that very easily, but then number two, it creates pathways or entry points for you to now connect with clients, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how you started to really grow your business and how people started to receive you as a creative as you started to really embrace that sort of storytelling from the vantage point of the human condition and identifying your voice as a creative.
Yeah, so right now, like I haven't gotten any paid work from my mission as an artist.
Yeah.
People hire me for my craft, my skills and framing and
Yep.
telling the story in different ways, right? Not just like the artistic side. So like when it comes to I've done I've done small commercials here and there. I've done small branded stuff too, and those branded content is very interesting. Like I haven't worked myself up to the point where I can say like this is the entirety of the creative project, and we're going to deal with the human condition
Yeah.
in this story and get
Yep.
paid for it. I haven't done that. But the closest thing I have is working with a dance company here in South Bend, and I've done a lot of content
Hmm.
through them, which is an interesting blend of, even though it's dance, they do a certain style of contemporary dance, and so they infuse a lot of these ideas of the human condition, depression, victory, struggle, all those things. They kind of infuse that, and I've been blessed to be part of that journey with them. I've got paid work
Well,
here and there with them.
well,
Go
I
ahead.
would say to you, I mean, I would encourage you to say that, like, regardless of whether or not it's like exactly within the cast of what you're super passionate about, you're still telling the human, or sharing the human experience with a
Hmm.
wedding, with college life, with all of those things. It's just a
Yeah.
different expression, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
what I mean, I think sometimes as artists we think like we discount certain things, but it's like, no, like
Mm.
you're still telling stories, you're still being super effective, and you're still exercising your gift. It may be constrained to a certain extent because of, obviously, rules, or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
creative
Yeah.
restrictions. But at the end of the day, listen, the human condition is a plethora of expressions, and that's why it's so beautiful. Is because one day it could be something sad, and maybe something that gets somebody feeling really deeply emotional, and then other times it can be
Mm.
beautiful and expressive, and other times it can be really funny, or it can be a nuance of different emotions. So I definitely wouldn't discount that. I would say definitely hold that, own that, man, you know
I hear you. I hear you. I hear
yeah,
you in that. I hear you that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I've been doing it for so long. It's like, okay, I need to break
Yeah, yeah.
from that, you know. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. That being said, let's talk a little bit about gear. What was your first camera?
Oh, uh, my first camera that I started doing like creative content for
Yeah,
myself was the Canon T1i.
the Canon T1i,
T1i.
not even T2.
Yeah.
It was the
Oh,
T1i. It
T1i.
only has
Yep.
one eye.
That's when they
Wow. Wow. I don't even
Yeah,
know that camera.
that's when they start they revamp that's when they start to revamp the Rebel series, because before that it was the
Mm,
Rebel T something, and then they get the T1i. Oh, the
mhm.
Rebel TI, I think that's what was the first one was called, or something like that. But yeah, that was my first DSLR. It was from Canon.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do you remember the first film you ever shot with it?
Yeah, I did. It was called. It's on my old Vimeo channel actually. I think it was called Photographer's Dream or something like that.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
still have it. Yeah,
I remember the
I gotta share
first.
that with you.
Well, the thing is, myself and Joshua are really old because we're talking about Vimeo. Like Vimeo was a thing back in the day. Like Vimeo was like the first, like, HD video, like
Yes,
1080p streaming.
yes,
But
yes,
nobody has
yes.
ever experienced a Vimeo video that streamed all the way without stopping. So I don't know. I don't know what to say, right?
You're
But
right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
but
Dang,
that,
man.
but that being said,
Yeah.
before we continue on, I want to acknowledge everybody that's on Instagram Live. Thank you so much. Send us your questions if you have
Absolutely.
storytelling questions on Instagram Live, as well as YouTube. Yo, listen, you guys are my family. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Send us your questions. Just type it in the comment section, or you can go ahead, and if you really want to get your question, I guess, seen, you can go to the super chat and purchase a sticker or contribute to the conversation. That would be appreciated as well. But yeah, we want to answer as much questions as possible, so definitely jump online, ask us any questions about filmmaking, all that sort of stuff. Oh, we have a question here from KBH Media. First digital camera was the Canon A80. That's what he says. They said that's I don't
Whew.
even I've never heard of the A80. So I mean, my first DSLR camera was the Canon 60D. That was like little flip
Oh,
out screen. Yeah, the 60D. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I felt like a
That's
boss with
nice.
it. Yeah, yeah. It was a good camera. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about shutter speed, ISO, nothing. I was just shooting blindly.
Hmm.
But that
Man,
being
I remember on family road trips riding in the back of our car. I bought a photography book called, it's from Brian Peterson. He was a photographer. I
yeah.
bought all of his books. I was just reading, had my camera, fixed exposure, took the shot, reading again. That does this, that does that, do it again. That's all I did. That's all I did.
Yeah, no, you know what's so funny? Is that I did the same thing. Like I remember my father actually purchased the 60D for me, and I just remember
Hmm.
just every day taking it out every single day. Like that's the same way I learned how to
Hmm.
drone. Like every day I would run home from work. I used to work at Apple and teaching people how to edit in Final Cut Pro. I was a creative
Dang.
at Apple.
Hey.
Yeah, I was literally a trainer, creative trainer for like 7 years at Apple. And while I was doing that, I was like teaching like film directors and documentarians and all this stuff how to use Final Cut Pro, and I wanted to do what they were doing. But I
What you're
digress.
doing exactly.
And then I would run home. I would be, shooting my kids, filming my kids, I should say, capturing, capturing any moment that I could,
Yeah.
learning what actually looked well and everything else. And, after a while, you get the handle of it. But who was the YouTuber that kind of inspired you, like that you would go back to learn stuff from? For me, I have two
Early on,
people
or
early on. Yeah, I have
okay.
two people in mind, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Um, it was actually Brian Peterson. He
Brian
was one of the
Peterson.
first
Okay.
YouTubers. I guess you could call him. He was an old white guy, but his way of talking about photography was so easy to understand and digest that I just kind of stuck with him. Then it moved to one of my other favorite photographers was Chase Jarvis at the time, early
Yep.
2000s.
Yep.
Yeah, Chase was like all about what's your story, how do you tell a story with a camera, all that type of
Hmm.
stuff. So I was part of his whole thing. And then I don't know who else. Those are the first two off the top of my head.
Man, my very
What about
first,
you? What
yeah,
about you?
my dude was Joe Simon, man. Joe Simon, a lot of people don't know him, but this dude, first of all, he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
the godfather of like wedding cinematography the way we know it now.
Oh
Before,
wow.
before any of, the Ray Romans of the world or any of the top guys that are out there, Joe
Hmm.
Simon was the one that was like he went to film school and then, and then couldn't get a film job, and then he had to pay his bills and start to do wedding cinematography, and then that wedding cinematography
Yeah.
ended up like taking him into commercial work. So now he works for like, Norwegian, and he does their commercials, and he, goes to Hawaii and does
Wow.
crazy
Wow.
commercials.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
his level of storytelling and his level of just cinematography was just awe-inspiring to me. I was always like, man, I need to get to Joe Simon level. That was always my thing. Like, if I could get to Joe Simon level, I'll be good. And then also, the other person that was really inspiring from a just an educational standpoint was definitely Philip Bloom. Philip Bloom was like,
Oh yeah.
he was like,
Yeah. Phil.
my British teacher, just
Yeah. Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
all the reviews. His reviews were so quirky and unique, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
really helped me to understand what I need to look for when it came to a camera. So those are the two guys I
Hmm.
would say, yeah, that
Hmm.
really inspired me. Who inspired you guys? YouTubers, let me know. Let me know. Hit me up. I see. Shoba says D for Darius. Yes, he's dope. He's definitely dope. He's been around. He's been doing his thing. You know D for Darius, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Different. Yeah.
yeah. He's
Yeah.
been doing
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about when you had a video that came out yesterday, and you were talking a little bit about Joshua, just about how you don't really advise people on what cameras to get, which is hilarious. I was laughing
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
everybody wants,
Yeah.
once you get a certain amount of YouTube followers or Facebook followers and Instagram followers, people want you to tell them what decision to make. And I like the fact that you just don't do that, and you said it
Mhm.
straight up. Um, let's talk a little bit about that, but then we'll go into some of the cameras that you have now, and what cameras you like, why you're transitioning, or why you're transitioning to
Mhm.
another camera manufacturer, and all
Mhm.
that good stuff. So
Yeah.
first and
Yeah.
foremost, yeah,
Yeah.
like why do you feel the way you feel, or feel so strongly about not advising or telling people what camera to buy?
Yeah, because once you, so I mean, I was that person too. Like, I think I always thought I had to buy the newest camera to improve my craft. And I mean, that's far from the truth. Your craft, as filmmakers, our crafts are centered around one, storytelling, two, framing, lighting, all those other elements that go into actually making it, because the camera is just a tool. And so once I finally had that epiphany, even though I talk about gear, and that's a very fine line, because a lot of people can get caught up on the tool of the thing rather than the craft of it. But yeah, I just personally feel like, if I tell somebody this and their experience with it isn't as great as mine was, then they'll come back at me and be like, "Hey, you told me there was a good camera." I'm like, "Yeah, it was good to
But you,
me."
but you told me, bruh. I spent $5,000. You told me.
Like, I'm not gonna tell you to go out and buy something, yo. I might be like, "Oh, you might want to check it out." That's why renting is such a good thing nowadays. You should go rent the thing first if you can, because you got to get your hands on it because every
Yeah.
camera, every sensor now. One thing I watched Cook TV,
Yeah.
like Cook the Lens
Yeah.
on YouTube, and a lot of if you just listen to them, the directors and film and cinematographers, they always say like all the sensors are essentially the same.
Yeah.
What makes a difference if you want to stand out in terms of how your aesthetic is, it is going to be your lens because
Yeah.
your lens is like your paintbrush on a canvas. And then two, how you light it. What's your story? Because your lighting and your story go hand in hand, right?
Yep.
Everything's not gonna be exactly cookie cutter the same. But like
I'm
that
sorry.
blew my mind. So
I
like
gotta
that's
throw this up. I'm sorry. That was fire. That was fire. That was fire. That was
but it's
fire.
so
Listen,
true.
if y'all don't think that or you guys think it was fire, please type in fire in the chat because please just repeat that one more time because people need to hear. The two
Oh
things
man.
that change that make a difference. Not the sensor because the sensors are the same, but what are the two
Yeah.
things again, Joshua?
Yeah. So essentially the two things that's gonna step up your craft aesthetically is gonna be your lens. Your lens that you choose is going to really it's going to really aid to how things look and then how you light it too because
Mm-hmm.
your lighting and your story are going to go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so and that blew my mind because like if you think about it, like a lot of these camera sensors are super sharp. Sure, you have 8-bit, 10-bit, 12-bit, 14, sure, that kind of that varies, right? The amount of power that camera can have, but essentially like there's really no bad camera. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen great work on Sony 6300s. I've seen great
Mm-hmm.
work all to obviously to Ari and whatnot, but like what makes it great is just that how you tell it, how you learn that piece of tool,
Mm-hmm.
and then how you make it work for you, right?
Yeah, I
So
mean, I'm
yeah,
sorry. Go ahead, go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm just there's so
no,
much
no, no,
going
no,
on in my
no, no
head, but
that,
yeah,
that was it.
no, no. I mean,
That was
I
it.
you're literally preaching to the choir because I this is something I that really irks me is just the idea of like if I get the best gear, I'm going to be the best creative, and that's
Yeah,
simply not how it works.
that's not how it works.
Some of my favorite films were shot on the dinkiest of cameras, like not dinkiest, but
Hmm.
like not like the cameras I have now. Like one of my
Hmm.
favorite images of all time came out of the A6300. Like, and I hated the battery on that. The low lighting was terrible on it. But if you shot in 4K because of the 6K downscaling to 4K,
Hmm.
the sharpness, the detail, the smallness of the sensor, you could put the 18 to
Hmm.
35, and the images that I was getting out of that were like so cinematic, so beautiful, and it was a camera that was $1,000 or $1,100, right?
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
it just like you said before, it just depends on how you wield that tool. But for
Hmm.
you, yeah, let's talk about some of those tools that you use. Now you have a very interesting story right now because you were Mr. Black Magic, B raw, right? Dope. And now you're just
Screaming,
like
screaming in the hilltop. Yep.
and now you're just like,
Now
oh
switch.
my god, you got to go somewhere else, right? Right? Or more? Or are you more like, oh hell no?
Yo, I need to have what you. I need your setup, man. I need your setup. That's life. That's
Listen,
life, man.
listen,
Yeah,
listen. Shout out to the Rode for making an amazing product, the Rodecaster Pro. It's just dope.
that's dope.
But yeah, no.
That's dope.
Tell us a little bit about your journey with regards to now transitioning from one camera manufacturer to the other. You could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So most of my projects, I'm a one man band. So I'm always looking at around the sub $3,000 range of cameras, right? So I had the GH5, I've had previously the Blackmagic Pocket, and then now moving on to the Z Cam. And so and what's funny because all three of those cameras are sub $3,000. You can rig them out as much as you want, and they have phenomenal quality, all three of them, right? And so oh, wait, now I forgot your question.
My question was how why did you transition from
Oh yeah,
Black
yeah, yeah,
Magic,
yeah,
right, and
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Pocket
yeah.
because you had the Pocket 4K, right?
Yeah, the
And
Pocket
and,
4K. I
and
had the
you
Pocket
you
4K.
and you had the you made a video about the Pocket 4K and then also them
6K.
announcing the 6K. I remember that, and I was wondering why
Yes.
you weren't going to go to 6K, and then now you're looking
Yeah.
at the Z Cam. So talk a little bit about your thought
Okay.
process.
I got you. Yeah. So when Blackmagic announced they were bringing out the Pocket 6K, I was upset because I felt like they neglected those people with the Pocket 4K in terms of some of the bug issues we were having, some of the UI design that they could have unleashed a little bit more to have more accessibility. and a lot of other things, and they didn't have anamorphic or whatnot. But eventually, they came out with that. And I remember I got quite a bit of flack because all he's whining, yada yada, be quiet. Anyway, so I rented the 6K later on a few projects, and I
Yeah.
recently rented it on on a wedding I just shot. And so I was really paying attention because I knew I was going to move on from the 4K, for a couple of reasons, and I mentioned it in my other video. But one of the reasons is, the mounting options. One thing that Zcam is doing a phenomenal job at is being able to have interchangeable mounts on the
Oh my
camera
gosh.
body. And the thing that's big, it's affordable. Like, I
a
paid
hundred
seven
dollars.
hundred dollars. Yeah, I paid $700 for a speed booster for the Pocket. On a Z Cam, it's only $100 for PL, Micro Four Thirds, EF, and M mount.
Oh
That's
man.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm
dope,
like, okay, that's you can't argue that. You can't
dope,
argue
dope,
that,
dope,
right?
dope.
Um, so yeah, it was a mount. And even though I was able to I shot a music video and it's being released in July, early July,
Hmm.
with the Pocket in that system, and the image looked great. But one thing I noticed having in the speed booster, it added a couple of characteristics that weren't, present in the lens before. And I use SLR Magic lenses. I love those lenses. They've taken huge steps in the right direction, I think, with their microprime lineup. And I personally have the. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you personally have every lens that they have, but no, I'm joking. No, no, no. I want
I've
you to
used
talk.
almost every lens they've had. Yeah.
I definitely want you to talk about SLR Magic. I'm looking to
Yeah.
actually switch over. I'm telling you, I'm gonna let you know why a little bit later. But let's talk a little bit about the cameras, and then we'll jump into SLR Magic because I want you
Yeah.
to I want the people to know because SLR Magic is doing crazy stuff right now.
Crazy stuff, man. Yeah. All right, let me try to condense this. So, I use the APO SLR Magic Micro Prime, the 25. So that's the widest high-end cine still lens that they have. I think that they have. They have the Hyper Prime. Anyway, I digress. And that lens. So the special thing about about that lens is it's less than $1,500, and you have apochromatic technology. So basically, that means you're going to have a great reduction of chromatic aberration in the lens in high contrast scenes. You can look that up later. I don't want to explain too much,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
basically, it's a piece of technology that you would normally spend thousands of dollars for, and they
Hmm.
have it in that lens, and it's a beautiful lens. It still has some kind of these vintage characteristics in it, but it still has. It's just a great blend of it's gorgeousness, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Not to
know.
be biased,
I know
it's a
you
really
love that lens. Trust me. You're just
yeah,
putting it
because
up in your Instagram.
I've used zines, I've used Rokinos, it's
Hmm.
basically the same company. I've used Canon lenses, I've used a lot of different lenses, except for like Cook and
Hmm.
Super um, Signature Primes from Ari.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I noticed there's some things that I didn't like, and I'm pretty much a lens purist. Like, I want my lens to be as raw as possible. Then I can change what I want with it afterwards, like adding softening filters and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that bothers me. Okay, so what's some other stuff? So then, obviously, I never liked the DSLR style body of cinema cameras. I don't know why companies go in that direction.
Hmm.
It's just, I guess people are wanting it, but I never liked it from the beginning when I bought it. But I knew it would be a big step up from the GH5 that I had. And then the durability of that camera. The camera has never been dropped. I've always had a cage on it, but like I know my time is going to come when that camera might be damaged in some way. I needed to repair or replace.
Yeah.
And the camera itself is just a big chunk of plastic, right? And if you drop it on a hard piece of concrete, whatever, something's going to rattle, something's going to shatter, or whatever.
I
So I didn't want to take those risks moving forward. With
well
those things in mind, I had a couple.
the
Yeah,
other
go ahead.
thing, just to add to that, like the other thing about the form factor that I found really annoying was the fact that I had to control the camera so much from the back, in terms of the screen, and then also it felt like I'm already I already had left sort of the 5D landscape, which was a pretty bigger,
Yeah.
SLR
Yeah.
body, but it was still pretty small comparatively
Mm.
to the Black Magic. It looks like a baby. It looks like a Sony mirrorless camera. You know what I mean? Right. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
being real. I'm just being honest. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like when I
yeah.
looked at it, I was like, I love the technology in terms of what it
Yeah,
could
the
produce.
technology is fantastic.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I
Yeah.
was not feeling the cages. I wasn't feeling all this external stuff that I had to do to make it functional. But continue on. Sorry,
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
interrupted
yeah,
you.
no,
Go
you're
ahead.
good, you're good. And so those are some of the things I was just looking at. And so when I comparing it to the 6K, I don't see a big jump. Sure, I get a Super 35 sensor, and I get EF mount because I'm starting to invest in EF glass, EF and PL glass. But it still had all the same problems before. The
Mm,
durability, there's bigger file sizes now, but it didn't have flexibility in terms of shooting B-roll in both 4K and 6K because I don't always want to shoot in 6K with B-roll.
mhm.
And so I didn't really see also a quality difference because I really pushed the quality. I'm mentioning quality not to see as a bad thing because that's the best thing of this camera. Both cameras produce amazing images. B-roll is freaking amazing.
Mhm.
But it wasn't a selling point for me to move to that, right?
Yeah.
So and I'm always wanted to try new cameras. Like as a upcoming DP, cinematographer, filmmaker, however you want to call it, I want to have a vast knowledge of what camera landscapes are out there. So if I
Yeah.
can sell something to pick up something else, I'll do it. It's basic software changes might be a learning curve, but it's going to take a few
Mhm.
days and then you'll be good, right? So
I'm a,
I didn't really
I know
worry about that.
I know what you mean. Like I'm a
Yeah.
loyalist to no brand. I'm a loyalist to whatever tool can allow me to tell the best story in the best way,
Mm,
right?
mm,
You know, a lot of people look at me and like, man, you changed cameras a lot. It's like, well, I like for my smaller cameras because I do photo and video work, right? So for my
mm,
smaller cameras and
mm.
my smaller work, I generally try and stay with the same sort of camera for at least 3 to 4 years. But for my cinema cameras, I really want like it's been things have been moving so fast that I've been trying to find a
Yeah.
proper cinema camera to do my
Yeah.
documentaries, to do my sort of my long form feature work and things of that nature.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's I still have an FS5 Mark II from like 2 years
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
when I bought it, it was already obsolete. But I bought it because I had to, right? I just had to
Yeah.
buy it. But I hear what you're saying, like the process of all of the different things that you're looking for, and like also being open to other things. Like I remember
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
about Kinific. What is it? Kinific?
Can affinity.
Kinfinity. There you go. I remember hearing
Yeah.
about them
Yeah.
and being like, "Oh, that's interesting. Let me check that out." Oh, it's eight
Yeah. That's
thousand
at the top of
dollars.
my list next. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But they had a really really great offerings. And at the time, I didn't really know about the
Hmm.
E2 that much. I was like, okay, what's this new dinky camera? Z
Yeah.
cam, the
Yeah.
Z cam, Z
Zcam.
cam, what E2 E.
Zadcom.
Yeah, the Z. You know what I mean?
Zadcom.
I had no idea, but yeah, I hear what you're saying in terms of being aware of it. Sorry, you can go ahead and continue on.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, so moving on from that, I'm excited for a new body. I'm curious because what's Zcam does offer a lot for what the camera is. So I'm going for the S6, the E2 S6, and I'm excited for open gate because I want the full sensor so I can have full control over that. They have a lot of different. I like multi. I guess this is a phrase, but multi crop sensors, I guess you can say that, because you can
Yeah,
there's different variants of the sensor you could crop. The S1H does that, the Z cams do that, most cinema cameras do that anyway.
which
Um,
I'm still kind of iffy about. The only reason why is because I I I don't mind having all the different crop options, but for me, I generally shoot 16:9, right?
mm,
Or I'll shoot, the ultra cinematic. And then
yeah,
the only other resolution I really need outside of like 6K is great. 4K is really sort of the baseline now for most people. But for me,
mm,
if I would trade a couple of those different crop factors or whatever for 2K, 240 frames per second. That one thing from the FS5, I love that because
yeah,
even just the way 2K looks,
yeah,
it
yeah.
for some reason it just looks really nice. I like 2K. It's
Hmm.
nice to handle in
Hmm.
your computer, and when you're shooting slow mo, you don't need at least for me, I don't need 8K 180 frames per second in
Yeah,
8K
yeah,
or
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
So
That would
yeah,
kill a computer.
it would destroy it.
Sheesh.
It would
Yeah, I'm not a
destroy it.
big slow motion guy anyway. Probably I like 48 frames a second. That's probably 48 and 60 is probably the slowest I'll go. So,
By the way, we got a super chat. I got a shout out to Brandon Washington. He says let me just pull it up on here.
hey,
He goes
B Wash.
he goes, keep up the great work, guys. I love seeing one of the OG's favorite creatives and one of let me pull it back up there. One of my new favorite creatives. Hey, listen, man, I really appreciate the support. We're really just trying to build up the culture. It's all about the culture, man. I don't
You
even know. I don't even know why I'm trying to do that. I'm Jamaican, guys. I'm Jamaican, guys. Okay, so I should just stay with the dance
Oh,
hall
okay. Good to
sound
know.
effect.
Good to
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Good to
of
know.
course. Yo, Jamaicans are
OG.
Dope.
very
Dope. Dope.
Anyways, listen, what's your questions, guys? Let us know if you have any questions. We are here to talk about visual storytelling. We are here to talk a little bit about, anything to do with the Zcam, any sort of camera techniques. What are some of your
Yeah.
favorite filters? I can tell you right now, one of my favorite filters, and I call it I call it the sexual chocolate, is
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I'm about to tell you. There's a couple of filters. There's one right here I have on my Sony 85 1.8, and it's called the Black Satin 3 filter.
Bro.
Let me tell you
Black
something.
Satin's nice.
Oh, Black Satin
It's
will make
silk.
you look like a Black Panther. That's what it means.
It's on silk, man. I
Silky.
had Black Satin too.
Oh yeah, Black Satin too. But
Yeah.
my favorite actually, and the one that really got me into really the filter game was oh my gosh, the Pro Mist Black Quarter. Yeah, Pro Mist Black Quarter. That when I start to use that, my footage starts to look completely different. Completely different.
Yeah.
Because just the subtle hints of lifting the blacks a bit, and then just having that little bit of softness and on the detail, taking away some of that sharpness. Yeah, that was, I mean, what is it, YZ imaging, or what's the thing again? YC imaging talks about your
YC
footage
imaging.
being too sharp. He has a video on that, and I think that like it sums it up. But like I think if you're not shooting with filters, I'm shooting with a filter right now on this 50 mil right now. It's a Sigma 50
You
mil.
are. I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, I'm looking all sexy, my skin. You know what I mean? Shoot, my mama would be proud, boy. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about what's exciting about what's the most exciting feature in terms of the Zcam for you. You said you were talking about crop factor, but what about frame rates? What about form factor? Mounting options?
I mean, it's cool that I get a lot of higher frame rates and higher resolutions. I like the one thing I'm just very curious to see what it looks like is open gate. Open gate is essentially using the entirety of the sensor. That's something that Arri Alexa has in their cameras, and that allows you to shoot anamorphic using the whole sensor, right? So you can properly your crops and whatnot. So I have the SLR Magic 133s. They're not an extreme compression like a 2 times anamorphic, but surprisingly they have a nice quality rendering in the background. I've gone talks with Vazen, so I got some stuff to use with Vazen.
Okay.
So I like anamorphic, so I want to put some anamorphic glass on that camera and see what it looks like.
Are you going to are all your anamorphics are micro four thirds, right?
No, so the 133s from SLR Magic, these are PLs.
Oh, those are
mounts.
PLs. Okay, cool.
Yeah, those are PL mounts. Yeah, the Vazen is a micro four third. But because I got my S6 with the PL mount and the EF mount, so I can use my anamorphics at least.
Okay.
Because I haven't done any anamorphic content since my short film Lost Souls.
Yeah.
That was last year. But that was one thing I'm excited for. Open gate. I want to use a whole sensor. And
Can you explain open gate a little bit? Like I have a rough understanding of it, but for those that don't know what open gate is, could you kind of share that a little bit, Josh?
Yeah, so open gate. So most cameras they shoot in 16:9 or 17:9, some crop aspect ratio in the camera. So like for instance, the Blackmagic Pocket series they shoot in 16:9. Because they shoot DCI, 4K DCI or 680 DCI. So that's going to be a crop. So with an open gate, it simply just means you use the entire height and width of the sensor. So the ratio is going to be like a 4:3 or 6:5 or something like that. So you're using the entirety of the sensor. So then later on, if you want to crop it to a 4K DCI or 5K DCI or whatever crop ratio you want afterwards, you can. It's limited at like only 30 frames a second, but I only shoot in 24 frames a second anyway when it comes to like just regular stuff.
You don't shoot 30? 30 is amazing.
Don't do that to me. Just no.
I'm not even shooting 30 frames in live stream. Like this is still 24 frames. Look at the staccato. See? This
Um, so you're funny, dude.
uh,
Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is.
yeah.
And then I love square formats anyway.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna shoot a short film entirely in open gate. I'm just gonna
Okay.
just do it because I like that format. Yeah.
And it's gonna be um 18,000 tetrabytes of storage for
Well, the thing
30
is, I will be
seconds.
shooting Z raw. That's the only downside right now. Z raw isn't really like robust
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Black Magic B-roll.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just kind of rock the 422 HQ
Mhm.
ProRes right now. I'm gonna just rock with that for a little bit. I know how to handle that footage, so it's gonna be a little bit easier on my Mac anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna rock that
I think
Vlog.
I think that's the only thing. So for me, I ended up actually just when they made an announcement about the ProRes RAW, I ended up getting I ended up getting my what is this now?
That's a Z. That's a Ninja V.
Yeah, this is the Ninja V. I have an Inferno, but the problem
Mm-hmm.
is that the Inferno that only really works. It's the Inferno, so it doesn't have the software that can work with the Zcam. So I had to get one of these, and in doing
Mm-hmm.
so, I love it. I mean, I haven't really used it yet, but I'm waiting for the firmware update to happen so that I can really
Yeah.
test out. What I want to do actually is I want to do a review
Yeah.
comparing the FS5 ProRes RAW coming from the Inferno versus the Zcam E2 ProRes RAW because I'm
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
interested to see the colors and the rendering on that. You know what I mean? Because when you're thinking
Yeah.
about it, a lot of people have questions, and one of the biggest questions I had in terms of the E2, everybody's touting 6 or 4K at 160 frames per second. I don't really care too much about that because I'm more about, okay, how does it do in dynamic range? How does it do in low lighting?
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Mm-hmm.
user friendly? Do I like
Mm-hmm.
the image that comes out of it? Is it sharp? Is it soft? How do black people look? Because I film a lot of black people. I film people that
Mm-hmm.
have darker skin. So I mean,
Yeah.
and if everything is based off of, obviously most of the technology is based off of lighter skinned people, which is totally fine. If the rendering in terms of color isn't pleasing for the type of people I film, then I tend not to go to those cameras,
Time to
right?
use it. Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tend to
Yeah.
use it. So these are questions, like real questions I had. So when I purchased the E2, I honestly left it on the shelf for maybe a couple weeks because I didn't know what to do with it. There's so much things I had to
Mm-hmm.
put into it in order, the adapters and all this other stuff, CFast cards. But when I started to use it, Joshua, I was like, oh my God. I said, shoot, I think I
Yeah,
might got
man.
something here. No,
Yeah,
honestly, it's
man.
it's been blowing my mind every single time I pick up the camera. I've been using it mostly
That
for
just gets me excited.
no, honestly, it's really, really, it's to me, it's a really interesting experience because there are a lot of things like, do I love the menu system and the buttons? No, I don't love
Mm-hmm.
those, but I love the fact that it is still functional. I don't necessarily have to have a grip, which I don't have right now. I'm looking to get a clutch grip, but like there are things like at the end of the day, the dynamic range, the low lighting, the form factor, all of those things make it so much user friendly, like so much more user friendly. Like just
Mm-hmm.
putting a
Mm-hmm.
monitor, plugging in an HDMI cable, having a CFast card and a lens, and you're good to
Yeah.
go. Like you can start
You're good to
filming.
go.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
handle,
Yep.
that holds the that holds the monitor up, and that's what I love about the
Mm-hmm.
Zcam is that you can go super big and super robust and super like I'm doing like some sort of Terminator film, or you can go run and gun, right? You know what I mean? You can go run
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
gun
Yeah. Yeah.
with a little Sony battery, and you're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. I always like the idea of having a square body because I want to build around that, and it's better balance, right? A better balanced camera is going to give you better stability, and better stability gives you better handheld shots. And I shoot a lot of handheld work, um, and so being able to do that, mount all I need to do on. Well, I am going to get an 8 cent cage because that thing's like a freaking tank. But um, yeah, that's probably one big thing. Like I would agree with you. I'm not a big fan of how the menu and button layout is, but once the update comes to the Ninja V to control the camera,
Hmm.
then I'm very curious about how they're going to do that. I hope it's through like HDMI, not like I don't know. I don't know how they're
Yeah,
going to do it.
I
Either lane or HDMI, right?
yeah. Right now the way so the whole reason why I got the Ninja was because I was looking at the B5 monitor or whatever else. I forgot what it's called, the Pro Tools, Pro, not Pro Tools, Pro Keys.
Port keys,
Yeah, monitor,
port keys.
Core Keys. Yeah, and I liked it, but for the price, I was just not married to the price. For the fact
Yeah.
that it was just a monitor, I was like, I don't need, like, I already have something that is a
Mm-hmm.
monitor. You know what I mean? I have several monitors,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't just want that. I wanted something that was going to give me the monitoring that I needed, but then also now it's recording ProRes RAW. I was like, okay, that's worth, 600 bucks or 700 bucks, right? Because that's a value
Exactly. Exactly.
that I'll be able to share and
Yeah.
utilize a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm really looking at the clutch. The only thing is that American to Canadian dollar translation is killing
It's
me.
stupid, right?
It's
Yeah.
it's like
It's stupid,
it's
right?
adding like an extra $200 to the clutch. So
Sheesh,
yeah,
man.
so I'm hurting there. But honestly, I forgot what the gentleman's name is. He's in the Zcam group. He's doing like that clutch, that Zcam clutch, that or clutch grip that he made is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
amazing. Like it's getting
Yeah.
amazing reviews. The build quality and the features he's building into it are
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. Like I'm really excited to see what he does with it.
Yeah.
The only thing is again, it's
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
you can only program it for in PCs. You can't program it in a Mac. So I
For
have to
Mac.
figure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all
You
good.
gotta wait for a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, to go back to the form factor,
Yeah.
the locking E mount. One thing I liked about when I got the Metabones, I got the locking Cine locking version, and that ensures a lot more stability in the lens. Because I don't like having wiggle with my lenses on the camera. The units that I use for the 6K had some wiggle, and it
Mm.
was not reassuring. So having a locking mount for my EF glass is going to be something I'm very excited for. And again, pairing the SLR Magic APO lens to a 6K open gate image, I'm really curious to see what that looks like. Um,
Well, that
so
this
yeah,
kind of leads me to my next question. In terms of, and let me know if you know how your timing is and stuff like that. We're
yeah,
almost at
yeah,
8, but a few more minutes and then we'll open up for some questions as well. But I wanted to
okay.
ask you, Joshua. You had mentioned before that you're about SLR, the SLR Magic life, and I remember when I heard about SLR Magic, I was like, what's SLR Magic? And steadily, year by year, they just been killing it and really just providing some amazing products. Can you talk a little bit about that? Now, spoiler alert for those of you that don't know, Joshua does have a great relationship with the
Hmm.
makers there. So again, but he's purchased a lot of his stuff. This is not a
Yeah.
plug. They didn't sponsor this
Nah.
stream at all. I met them. They're really nice people, and
Yeah,
I
they're
think
great. Yeah.
they deserve our support because they're making some like killer glass. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they're coming up, man. Well, I mean, they've been around for what, almost over a decade now.
yeah.
But like now I think they're really making a splash. Especially here now in the US, a lot of people a lot of people always gravitate towards Rokinon. And I really don't like Rokinon lenses.
No, I've had Rokinon lenses and I've given them away.
Yeah.
Okay. I've given them away totally. Like
Um,
it's just again, you get what you pay for, and
yeah.
if you pay a little bit more, you'll get a lot better, and that's just what it comes
Yeah.
down to. There's nothing wrong with Rokinon. People have shot amazing films
Yeah,
and
amazing
things.
stuff with it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's not my like lenses. Like
Mhm.
again, lenses are like brushes. You pick the ones that you feel comfortable with using to
Yeah,
tell your story, right, visually.
yeah.
And I think SLR Magic is a great blend between, in terms of how the optics look. They're a
Mhm.
great blend between modern and vintage lenses.
Yes.
And I like that style. I don't want a perfect lens. That's why I don't shoot with the 18 to 35 Sigma lens. I use it a couple of times on like
Mhm.
some product stuff,
Mhm.
but like on my films, like I want to feel like it's saying something when you look at it. I use
Mhm.
those lenses because those lenses tell that story for me through that medium,
Mhm.
through that piece of lens. And so SLR Magic has several different options. They're mainly known for back in the day for their micro four third lenses, and I have
Yeah.
all of their. I had the 8, the 12, the 10, the 12, the 25, 35. I had all of them, right? And they were fun to use. They're a little clunky to use because they're all different, slightly designs. But then they came out with the micro prime, and they have this whole new housing. I have it right here. This is my mic. This is my mic stand, but this
Look at
is
this.
the
Look at this. Look at this guy. Oh, I
this
just
is the
I just have this just sitting around here. I'm
well,
sorry.
dude, I have my mic right here. So I've been using the Fujifilm micro primes, and I have a video on that,
Yeah.
and these are great, man, on the camera too. So it's just uh, I think they're underweight. A lot of people overlook them for whatever reason. Oh snap! Our live just went out
No,
on
no, no. I
Instagram.
just turned it off because it was counting me down. So I'm just
Oh,
gonna
okay,
I'm literally gonna restart it again. Just give me a second here. I'm literally just
okay.
gonna share this to my IG and just say gonna call it stream right now because everybody knows the worst thing about IG live is like you go on live and you lose the live immediately. It's terrible.
Yeah,
It's the worst. It's the worst experience
it's
ever.
terrible.
I don't know how to. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Keep on going. No. Keep on talking. Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I stopped for searching. So yeah, I think the form factor and consistency has improved greatly with the microprime design.
Oh,
And
just
so
one more thing.
now,
Just jump back in. I just went live again. So just jump back in,
oh,
and then I'll
okay,
just add you
okay,
in
okay.
there.
All right, I
Sorry,
see it.
YouTubers. We love you too. We're
It's always
just
happening.
working out some stuff. There we go. Yeah.
All right, I sent you a
Yep. I
request.
see it here and add you in. All right. Keep on going, homie.
Wow, this takes a long time to kind of wind up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm on. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So, what was I saying? I was saying, oh, the design of the. So before, previously, all the older lenses are the hyper primes,
Mm-hmm.
and they were a little clunky to use. They were kind of, they were in different stages of design. So some were really small, some were pretty big. But now the micro primes are a lot more consistent, and they have
Yeah.
that for a lot of different cameras. They have it for X mount, they have it for Micro Four Thirds, Sony, and I was always been a big fan of them. And so when I finally got this, like, it's crazy how that story happened. I think I have to tell you another time. But um, once I got kind of like I am a brand ambassador for them,
Yeah.
and in a sense where I'll use their gear and then talk about the characteristics of the lens, and they listen to
Mm-hmm.
my feedback. And we kind of have that partnership going back and forth, which is great. That's one way for me to kind of um, watch a lens be developed and see if I have any influence on it or not or whatever. But when I finally purchased their APO lens, because that was something I was was fiending over for that lens, because I think the technology and build quality of that lens is phenomenal,
And
and
the
it
APO
rivals.
again. That's the one. That's the 50 mil. That's the $1,500 one. Or
So originally it came out. So originally that lens series, that whole series that came out, the microprime
mhm.
APOs was $1,500, and I think the price had dropped right now,
Okay.
and that's about 1150 right now, which is still great because compared to any other lenses in that same market, you have the zines,
Mhm.
you have what else is around that price? If you use Canon L glass, if you're looking for a lens that has a blend of those of a high end cinema lens, but also has vintage characteristics.
Mhm. Oh, we lost you there for a minute. We lost you in the stream there in YouTube. There, you got you back. Let me see here.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah, I got you. Yep, we're good.
Oh, okay. I don't know where I cut off on that, but
It's okay. No, no. You were just saying that for the quality, the build quality, the pricing, all that sort of stuff. You're basically getting like the zine L series type of performance, but you're getting it for like $1,100 instead of 2,000 or 3,000 or $5,000
well,
type
I
of thing.
wouldn't say because it's hard for me to kind of compare those lenses to the SLR Magic
Yeah.
because it's a very different look. As soon as you put on a Canon lens, you
Hmm.
know it's a Canon glass because it's perfect, it's pristine.
Hmm.
It's not as when we say characteristics, it has a particular flare, it has a particular bokeh rendering in the background.
Hmm.
And so when you put on the SLR Magic lens, it's like, oh, this is different, right?
Hmm.
And so you have to really kind of train your eye to see those things because I
Hmm.
can I can distinctly tell um, that this is a particular lens versus this lens. Not
Yeah.
all the time, but most
Yeah.
of the time I'm looking at these how people shoot things, what lenses are using, kind of understand the characteristics,
Yeah.
and that's why a lot of people like in Hollywood stuff they go to Cook S4s, they go to Zeiss super speeds, all these other types of lenses, because they have some type of richness to them. And I think eventually SL Magic is going to break into the Hollywood scene. I'm sure. I know already a few DPs who use these lenses, like John Brawley. He's another
Yeah.
ambassador too for the brand and stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I really liked about what they were doing in terms of SLR Magic was like they're really trying to listen and they're really trying to create like really high quality stuff, but that's accessible. And I think that that's really
mm,
important because again, for me, I'm kind of in a place where I'm a tweener, right? Like I was just doing only video, and now like I provide in at least one of my businesses, I provide photo and video, and that's more my wedding brand, Felicity Moments. So it's like when I'm purchasing, I'm kind of purchasing double, right? Like I have some
hmm,
Canon stuff and Sigma stuff, but I really want to have stuff specifically just for my cinematography work. And now, you know,
yeah,
after seeing a
yeah,
lot of your videos, after seeing a lot of people just talking about SLR Magic, I really want to start making the investment into those lenses because I think that it's important to like have that consistency. I noticed that immediately when I switched from
yeah.
all of my Canons to like I started to get all the Sigma Art series. And the thing I liked about the Art series lenses were, although they were photography lenses, they had a certain sort of mute tone to it. They were sharp, but they were flat, and they gave me all
Hmm,
the consistency across the board. So then when I was
hmm.
editing, I wasn't like re-editing,
Fighting.
yeah, fighting the
Hmm,
fighting, you know. And that was something that was great about when I was just only with Canon. Like I had the Canon 50, the Canon 85, the Canon, you know, all the L series, like 35, all that sort of stuff. And it, like you
yeah.
said before, it had a specific type of characteristic. It had certain
Hmm,
flares. It
hmm,
was a very cinematic, not super sharp, especially the 51.2.
hmm.
That 51.2 like Mark One was like, you know, the go-to for me because it just had this sort of rustic sort of feel to it, but at the same time it was so beautiful. So yeah, I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying. Like I think it's acquired taste. You got to really train your eye on
Hmm.
how you want to represent yourself, right? As a director, as a
Yes.
filmmaker,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And when you figure out, okay, I like this look. This look is my look, right? I love it
Hmm.
when people say, "You shot that?" Like they're asking me like, "You shot that, right?" Because I know you, I know your look. You have a certain look or vibe, right? And it's like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you know what I
Uh-huh.
mean. But and also
And
sometimes people look at me and say, "You shot that?" And it's like, oh yeah, but I can't shoot that. You know, so it depends on how they say
so
it.
why
But
you doubting me, yo?
exactly, why you doubting me? I thought you supposed to be love me. But
You said
listen,
something key, you said
mm,
something very key too about having a set because like because it's hard because I sometimes I talk in between being a documentary filmmaker and then trying to get into narrative
yeah,
because in that world in that space, especially narrative work, you want to
mm,
have a consistent set of lenses because you don't want your I'm not going to sit there and shoot with one Sigma lens and then a
mm,
Canon lens and then with an SLR Magic lens and a Rokinon lens. That's going to be a nightmare because all four of those lenses have different characteristics. They're
yep,
not going to look the same, right?
yep.
So I think that's one thing. Like being a when I saw this comment earlier, I think it was in the Black Magic group. It was like, why do videographers sell themselves as cinematographers or something like that? And I was like, oh, this is gonna be fire. Let me just kind of follow this. But one thing I think that sets apart like videographers, I don't know why I'm going down this rabbit hole, but one thing that videographers and cinematographers are different in. I've been in the videography space. That's
Mm.
like event work and uh, kind of
Broadcast,
wedding,
yeah, yeah,
broadcasting
yeah, yeah.
stuff. And you kind of have this, in a sense, you have a hodgepodge of lenses. I had a hodgepodge of lenses
Mm,
working with it because, oh, I need something for a zoom. So I have a Tamron. I need something for a even closer zoom. I have a Canon, right?
yeah,
I have a wide angle. I have a Sigma wide angle, right? It's a hodgepodge of lenses, but then you're getting your coverage. You know, you have your
yep.
coverage, and yeah, um, you can totally build a set from there. But like cinematographers, that's the first thing they kind of worry about. What's my look? What's my set of lenses that are going to give me the consistent look that I need to
Mm-hmm.
tell this story, right? And so I think that's one of the bigger differences. I don't know why I brought that up, but
Okay.
it's something
No,
on my
no,
mind.
so we're going to be wrapping up soon. So please, if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
questions, please help me. And it's not because you're talking. And so, no, I like that. I love the fact that you're giving us quality information. So it's not like I'm saying, okay, wrap it up, bruh. We gotta go. No, no, it's not like that at all. It ain't like
Yank me out,
that.
bro.
But one of the things I want to ask you, just this is just more of a fun thing, Joshua,
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
what's one of your name one of the one of your favorite movies in terms of cinematography or storytelling, but specifically
Yeah.
cinematography.
I always trip up on this question because I forget the movie,
Yeah,
but and I watch so much content too, man. You do this to me.
I know. I didn't prep him. I
Um,
didn't prep him. Okay, I'll start first. I'll start first. Okay, one of
okay,
my
go ahead.
favorite looking films of all time, and it's actually not a bad film at all. It's pretty good. I'd give it about a B plus, A minus. Is Oblivion with Tom Cruise. That
I bought
look,
that movie.
that look,
Yeah,
the clean, like
yeah.
super like commercially lit
It's
look.
sterile. It's
Yeah,
sterile.
it's
Yeah, but
sterile,
it's nice.
but it's
It's nice
nice.
though.
And then
Yeah, it's nice.
and what's powerful is when they cut into these extreme close-ups and they have the shallow depth of
Hmm.
field, it makes it so much more impactful because everything else in the
Hmm.
movie is so removed and there's such epic wide shots and glamour shots I call them. So yeah,
Yeah,
Oblivion for me is definitely like
I
I just
agree.
watch it just because of that.
I agree. I liked. All right, so I'm gonna just rattle off stuff. I liked Arrival because I'm a
Okay.
Bradford Young
Yes.
fan. Do you know who
Yes.
Bradford Young
Yep.
is? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So Selma, When They See Us, Arrival, the bloodiest day is the most violent day in New York. Like those, like
Yeah.
I love his style.
He's a
Roger
black
Deakins.
DP, right? He's a black
Yes,
DP.
he
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
yeah,
thing, so I love Arrival. But my favorite out of his is definitely When They See Us. That the way
yeah,
that is
yeah,
shot, it's
yeah.
incredible because
Ava
it gets the
DuVernay and
tone.
him are
Yeah,
a
yeah.
great combination. They're a
Amazing
great
combination.
combination. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Um,
saying Roger Deakins.
Yeah, I'm a Roger Deakins fan.
Yeah.
I just like the way he is so funny, but he's not trying to be funny. Like, because I listen to have you listened to the podcast,
No,
Deacon,
I got to check that
Team
out.
Deacon?
Oh man, I didn't even
Yeah,
know.
man, he is so funny because he's you would think like he's one of those guys that just like when you ask him, so how do I like the scene? Well, I don't know. I don't how do you want to light it? Like he throws it back to you. It's like I don't
Yeah,
why are you asking me this, right?
yeah.
The reason why I like that attitude because it reassures me as a DP and filmmaker, wannabe filmmaker, is that um it's not about what other people think. Like what you want to tell comes from you. It's not
Yes.
whatever other people tell you, right? And so you can be an understudy of Roger Deakins or understudy of this, but if you really just listen to them, they're only following what they want to create.
Hmm. Hmm.
If they want to create that, they're gonna do that. So
Yeah.
you don't always have to worry about what they're doing, what they want to say to you. Sure, they'll advise you, but
No,
like you need to just go out there and tell it. Yeah.
I totally agree with you, and I think that this lies the sort of the tripping point for a lot of creatives is finding your own creative voice, right? And I think that
Hmm.
the only way that you can do it, there's a video that I watch like at least a couple times a year because I need to just share it, but it's amazing. But it talks about how the only way that you can become better and you can catch up, your talent can catch up with your taste is by doing a lot of work and a high volume of work and being
Hmm.
able to really
Hmm.
recognize
Hmm. Hmm.
what you love doing and how you love telling stories,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And being unapologetic about it, like
Hmm.
doing it and doing it without trying to prove something to somebody. Now, yes, there may be certain purposes behind it and whatever else, but I think we're so, as artists and as creatives, as filmmakers, we're so terrified at what one person or two people may say that we'll never meet in our life, that we're
Hmm.
afraid of just putting our work out there. And like, even I don't know if you saw the film I did with my friend the other day, or a couple weeks ago. It's called Praise and Worship, and I shot that with the
Yeah, I
FS5.
started watching it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I shot it
Hmm.
with the FS5 and shooting it in ProRes RAW and stuff. And we really didn't want to put out the project. We were like, we weren't happy with the results of it at all. And then we were like, let's just put it out. And like we submitted it to a couple film festivals. Now it's in film festivals now, and like it's spoken to so many
Dang.
people and all this other stuff. But you'll never know the greatness of what you're carrying or what you're communicating if you don't share it.
Hmm.
Right? We're
Yeah.
designed to share our work, and we have to have the
Mm-hmm.
courage to and the
Mm-hmm.
belief that we have something great to share. How many people
Yeah.
do we see sharing crap, like just sharing this craziness, madness,
It's
and they
garbage.
do it
It's
with,
garbage.
yeah, and they do it with boldness, like, yo, I'm the best. Okay, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But how about I share something too? I guess I need to share my perspective. So I think that's
Right.
really important too. So I love the fact that
Yeah.
you said that. That's really important. You know?
And then also sharing it opens you up to criticism, and it could be either bad or constructive. Because like you're not gonna be like I always see myself. I'm not the best at what I do, so
Hmm.
it is nerve wracking to once you want to say something and share it,
Yeah.
then you got to be okay with what is going to come back
Yeah.
too. And not to say that you should necessarily. This is where it gets really kind of kind of in the weeds a little. Is that
Hmm.
yeah, you have to take the constructive criticism. That's going to make you a better storyteller
Yeah.
moving forward. Whatever the technique
Yeah.
or how you told the story, like it can always be stronger.
Yeah.
Um, but don't always rely on somebody that you admire to tell you that this is good. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like, cause like a lot of people want to these hot, sit at Peter McKinnon's feet, sit at
Yeah.
Roger Deakins' feet, like, but most of the time they're going to just tell you, no, get out and do it
Yeah.
because I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like
But
what's holding you back? Only yourself.
yeah, and I think there's a difference between a person pointing you in the right direction and giving you feedback to become a better version of yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
and a person that's just trying to tell you what to do and how to think. And a great mentor, a great teacher, a great guide is one that's going to encourage you and direct you, to find your own voice and find your own space and find your own lane. And when I say lane, I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean just stay in your lane and that's all you can do. If you're only known as a
Right,
writer,
right.
just write. But I'm saying being able to embrace the space that you find yourself in and do it well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the greatest thing that I've learned from my mentors and people that I've looked up to, is like all they've done is like, you know, the biggest surprise for me is, you know, the people that I've showed my work to in the past and even present, most of the time they're like, you're not trusting, you know what you're doing, like you just need to continue on doing it, like you know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you're good, like but the
Yeah.
self-doubt makes you feel like, am I really good, like should I really share this, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw this on a
Mm-hmm.
drive. But no, like the people that are the most critical most of the time of themselves are the people that have some of the dopest ideas and perspectives, right? And what it
Mm-hmm.
comes back
Mm-hmm.
down to as we close is this whole idea of your story, telling your story or telling a story that you that has spoken to you is your gift to the world. It's your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's your voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you hold that or withhold that from the world, you're withholding your voice and your perspective and a gift that we can now exchange in. And I may not see the story exactly the way you see it, and you don't, and that's okay, because that will
Mm-hmm.
just allow me to gain a greater perspective, a greater
Mm-hmm.
a plurality of perspective, right? And I love that about that story, well, about just that idea. The one last thing I wanted to share before we closed up was just something that we started talking about, you know, before we got on live, just about how you you came out with your last film, and it's going to be a series of films. And
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that, you know, a lot of things are happening, you know, in the world. A lot of things are happening in the States and around the world. And you were a little bit more calculated in terms of how you want to speak to that, right? I know
Mm-hmm.
the way I want to speak to what happened with George Floyd and what's been happening in terms of systematic racism and things of that nature. I want to do it in a different way. I want to create a video, and I kind of spoke to it as a YouTuber, as a creative,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you spoke to it by creating a piece, and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be adding to that piece.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that and just share that as we close, because I think that that's really important to the way you described how you came to that thought process.
Mhm. Yeah, sure, sure. So the video you're referring to is called "Images of a Black Man," Part One, a visual expression, and the idea of saying images of a black man. So if you watch this first piece, it has a combination of I sorry to say, but iconic images that black people experience, right? The idea of don't shoot, you know, we're unarmed. The idea of that we're suffocating, that we've can't breathe. Those ideas that we've been kind of plagued with over the centuries, but also most recently because it's impacted through media and everything. And so I have not yet experienced. I've experienced racism. Period. Every single black person on this earth has experienced it to some degree, I believe, and not to extreme of what other black and brown people are experiencing in, but I want to embody those two experiences through this first film,
Hmm.
and to say that the idea of images of a black man is not just that. So I will be exploring other facets of what it means to be a black man through family, through other insecurities as well, and it's just kind of just tell that story and let that unfold
Hmm.
because it's also important to show people. The positivity of being black, right? Because it also comes down to like as Christians we're brothers and sisters in Christ too. So carrying that idea, what does that look like as a black man, right?
Hmm.
And there's so many other things that kind of go into that. And I forgot what did we say? It was a little more poignant earlier what
Yeah,
we were talking about.
just talking. We were talking about the whole idea of like, being able as a creative, being able
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
to share
yeah,
your own point of view without necessarily
yeah,
feeling the
yeah,
pressure of saying it the way that people want you to say it.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and just really the idea of like, sitting back and being able to process your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, your feelings, your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
able to now choose the lane or choose the application
Yeah,
of how
yeah,
you
yeah,
want to express that. I think that's super important, because I think we're not a
yeah.
monolith, right? Not every black
Mhm.
man or black woman or black person is going to react and feel the same way. And I think that the
Yeah.
the, the plurality of how we express our experiences and the black experience speaks to our humanity and speaks to the fact that we
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
want to engage in dialogue, but we need to do it in ways that work for us. And I think you said it the best. You said, find the gift or the outlet that you can master the best, or how to wield the best, right? Maybe
Yeah.
you're an
Yeah. Yeah.
athlete,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? And you have a platform. And okay, so you're using that athletic platform to then communicate injustice. For
Mhm.
you, it may be, I can tell my story or the human condition through film, and that's how I'm going to share it, and that'll
Yeah.
speak to a group of people. And for me, it might be articulating it through a vlog, right? But either way,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's no wrong way, as long as we're keeping the dialogue going and keeping that sort of conversation open, right?
Yeah. 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 You said exactly that.
Hmm.
Because one of the things, because Tristan and I had obviously different timing and different responses to how we reacted to what was going on to the recent events, and so when this happened, it was just the first thought was like, man, again, right? But it's always going to keep happening, I think, to a
Hmm.
certain point. But I just remembered, you know, how 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 early on things were just kind of just I became numb to it. And I didn't mention this earlier, but it was that numbing feeling because after a while it's like, man, again, you're just thinking about it again and things like that.
Hmm.
And everybody was kind of like throwing ups and arms, protesting, which all good and well. I believe protesting does have its place because obviously what happened in the 60s, we wouldn't be where we are today anyway, right?
Hmm.
And so, Dr. King and all of them. And so but I remember, and I was telling you this too, I remember that I was being called out for a few people because I was not saying anything. I didn't speak up immediately, which I was very surprised because I didn't think I had that type of,
Hmm.
I mean, because I never been in politics. I never been in this space, right, where I speak up because of an injustice happened.
Hmm.
But and I had to take. I was very not. I was thrown because it was like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, well, obviously people are looking at me for some reason or another to speak out on these things, and I didn't feel right speaking out exactly. So I took my time with it because my best gift, my best way to communicate is through visual work, and so in order for me to communicate the ideas that I was feeling, the things that I'm feeling, and things I'm going to be continue to be feeling and speak about, I wanted to build it visually and take you through a journey that way. Because like you said, like every black and brown person, we're not just like monolithic. We're not just
Yeah.
just one way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
So I'm taking it because we have different filters, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, we have filters through Christianity, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing this through a different type of
A lens.
filter,
Yeah. The
the
filter.
lens,
Yeah.
yeah, a lens,
Hmm.
basically, right? And so it's you got to ingest that, right? and see how that can be, how does that look at how do you reflect on that on your heart and then on your brethren around you. So
Mm,
those are just some of the things and ideas you have to kind of think through, from our filter, from our point of view, from our
yeah.
perspective, and then dealing with just being a person too, being a human,
Yeah.
being a black human,
Yeah.
right? So I had to work through that. So I always try to do my best to kind of walk through these things when it comes to this level of conversation and
Mm-hmm.
this level of events happening in the world. So all that being said, yeah, that's why Images of a Black Man, is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off. It has different reminiscences of slavery. It has different reminiscences of current times. Some kind of blend into what, I've dealt with, but some imagery harks back to like images that I've seen in slave books and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just me trying to kind of spill out that emotion, um, and that heartbreak that I had. But it's not the only
Well,
image. It's not the only picture of a black man.
yeah,
So
and
yeah.
that's not the beginning point, but I think that we all
Mhm.
have to figure we all have to um, embrace the realities of the atrocities that have happened and continue to happen, and I think that we need to express it and continue the conversation in different ways. But that being
Mhm.
said, I do want to thank you. This has been an amazing, amazing conversation. Joshua Martin Studios. You done know the thing, yo. The thing is what it is, yo. You're dope, 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 dope. That's what you are, man. And I really appreciate your
Yeah,
time. I appreciate everybody that's been watching on Instagram Live as well as on YouTube. Man, if you have any questions, please still hit us up in the comment section. We'll still
yeah, for
come
sure.
back later on and answer any questions that you have about anything that we spoke about. Is there any, how can we follow you? How can we support you? What should we look out for before we sign off here? Make your plugs,
Yeah.
man. This is your time.
All of my social media handles is Joshua Martin Studios. So you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and just and during this time, just kind of just listen out for Black creators. And if you want to be involved in conversations, support where you can. But this is a time for us to kind of understand us as human beings, as Black people as well. So yeah,
Dope. That's what's up. Well, listen, man. Much love, much appreciation, much respect. You are the sensei. You are the OG, and I appreciate your time and you being so gracious. And I know that you have a young child as well as a wife probably
yeah,
waiting for you. So I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna let you go. All right. Have a wonderful day.
All right,
Peace
fam.
out to everybody,
You
guys.
too.
Talk to you guys later. Peace.